We'd like to begin the meeting. We want to please rise for a moment's silent meditation or prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And please remember all our troops that are overseas, and our police officers, and our special first responders. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Aaron? There's solicitor over there. No. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Today's date is February 24th. I'd like to introduce you to those of us who are up at the dais so you know who we are. And to my extreme left, we have Russell Benner, our township engineer. We have Debbie's our clerk, our council clerk, Debbie McBreen. To our extreme right, we have Aaron. Aaron, you have to give me your last name, I'm sorry. Tosti. All right, we have Aaron. He's along with Joe Pizzo, our solicitors this evening. We have the Honorable Joseph DiGirolamo. Can you hear me, Joe? No, he cannot. Well, anyway, the Mayor, Joseph DiGirolamo, is there. And then our council members. To my left, we have Jesse Sloan. To my left, immediately left, we have Joe Polari, our vice president. To my immediate right, we have Ed Tokmajian, the councilman. To my extreme right, we have our secretary, Joe Knowles. I'm Ed Kisselbeck. And we are to the extreme. Our meetings are to the extreme. At any rate, we're going to start this evening with a presentation of awards. We have quite a few. Fred promised me he's going to do this in 400 words or less, which is that's just him reaching the podium, actually. But we're going to move it along. We'll have our Director of Public Safety come up. I'm going to have him make the presentation. I'd like to have the mayor alongside of him when we do that. Joe, you can go up with Fred Harron. Joseph DiGirolamo. Go up with Fred. You go up with him.
Thank you, Mr. Fred.
Thank you.
So we do have some presentations tonight. The first one we're going to start off with is a presentation by Jefferson Medical Center. And I would ask Dr. Rosenwasser to come up with Mr. Roussis, if he can come up. And they're going to talk about some amazing work that one of the police officers did in the last few months. And Dr. Rosenwasser is going to give us a pretty neat explanation on how this life was saved by a police officer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, council members, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here today. We partner, I'm the chair of neurosurgery for Jefferson Health and president of the Neurological Institute. And this township, and starting with the mayor, really embraced knowledge for stroke care in your community. Stroke in the United States, it's the fifth leading cause of death, but it's the leading cause of disability in the nation. And it costs $40 billion a year, every year. And so the partnership that we have with Bensalem EMS really has been a remarkable thing. And the education has been terrific. Really want to thank Chief Topley as well, who's been instrumental in this. And it's a real benefit to your community. And one of the things that we have learned from the education was really a remarkable thing. I've been practicing neurosurgery for 35 years. I've never seen something like what happened in your township by one of your police officers. And this was, it's Officer Michael Fleming, Mr. Officer Fleming. He was called to an auto accident. Two cars collided. He went in and saw that the one of the individuals in the car, he looked at him after the accident. He said, "This gentleman is having a stroke." He called the mobile stroke unit. He activated it. The mobile stroke unit, which is the only one in this region, which is our partnership with Bensalem, went to the accident scene, took the patient. Indeed, he was having a stroke. Did a CAT scan in the mobile stroke unit, and was taken and flown down to Center City, where I removed a clot from his brain, and he's walked out of the hospital. This gentleman would have either died or they were convicted. I'll just read it to you. I'll try not to take too much time. Jefferson Health System takes pleasure in commending Officer Michael Fleming of the Bensalem Police Department the citation for professional achievement in the superior performance of their duties while serving as a Bensalem police officer on 25 October 2019. Officer Fleming was dispatched to a motor vehicle accident with injuries. Officer Fleming was one of the first arriving officers, evaluated the patient, quickly identified the signs and symptoms of an acute stroke, understanding that time is brain. I won't read the entire thing to you, but we're so proud of what you've done. Okay, thank you, officer. Thank you very much.
Stay right here. Also, we could have a partnership with Jefferson and Doctor. Come up here, please, where I can see you. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me if I talk this way, guys?
Yes.
Okay. We have another partnership that we did, certainly with the stroke, the ambulance, which is incredible. There's not too many communities. I don't think there's any in this vicinity, Doctor.
No, you're the
that
only
Jeff has partnered with us. So what we're doing, and we came up with the idea with Doctor and myself, we talked about this. We're going to, every household, we're going to send one of these, a magnet to put on your fridge that gives all of the signs to look for a stroke. And believe me, I remember when my dad had it, we didn't know what was going on, but there's signs that you can have. And Doctor, we thank you for this. Jefferson is providing this for us, and we will certainly distribute to every household to make sure you have that. And Doctor, again, I want to thank you so much for the partnership.
Thank you.
And you might want to say a few words on this, how important this is.
Well, I'll be happy to. I don't want to take too much time up, but you know, 30 years ago, most of America, most of the world did not know the signs and symptoms of a heart attack. Everybody now knows chest pain, arm pain, jaw pain in females, pretty well known. And it was a 30-year journey to educate the public, which is a real public service. So, you know, remember the word, be fast. Be fast, you'll have this. Balance, if you're off balance, if you're having any blurring of vision, if you have asymmetry or drooping of one side of your face, weakness in an arm or a leg, any difficulty with speech, and T is for time. Time is critical. For every minute that your brain is not getting blood flow, you lose 1 billion cells. So it's, again, just important to understand this, and we've had many discussions.
Doctor,
and
thank you so much. God bless you for Jeff and all their working with us.
I'll just add, because it was on the notes, it was 11 minutes from 911 call to CAT scan. 11 minutes from 911 to CAT, and this is the only municipality anywhere in the area that has that. 11 minutes from 911 call to CAT scan. That is just amazing, and it's because of the work that's going on in Bensalem Township. Next, I want to call up our Director of EMS, Tom Topley, for a Lifetime Achievement Award? Membership Award.
So, it's kind of odd facing this way and talking. One of the things that a lot of the volunteer fire companies and the rescue squads do is, for a certain number of years of service, you get a life membership award. And usually it's pretty long time. The one local fire company I belong to, 15 years of consecutive service, you're eligible for life membership. And it's actually in their bylaws that life membership is the greatest honor they can bestow upon a member. At Bensalem Rescue Squad, we have many life members, but we also occasionally award someone an honorary life membership for their work in helping us provide service to the community. And we've only given honorary life membership to 4 people to date in our 40-year history. And tonight, I'd like to present Gene DiGirolamo with an honorary life membership for the work he did. For the work he did as a state representative for many, many years. He helped us get laws passed to help us with billing. He helped to get laws passed to help us with investigative blood draws, to help the police, and many, many other safety initiatives throughout the years. So we're really indebted to Gene for all the help he's given us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. It's certainly an honor to receive this award tonight, but there are certainly many other people that are just as deserving, or if not more deserving of this than me. And we all should be very thankful. And I am just truly amazed at the work that our EMS people do for us here in Bensalem. The police, the fire, Tom Topley, the ambulance service. I mean, they really, really make our quality of life here in Bensalem very worthwhile. And just honored to receive this award. And Tom mentioned about what we got passed and the laws we got passed. But I'll tell you, playing defense up in Harrisburg, for the many times, especially the Insurance Federation, wanted to hurt our EMS people, our police, with different laws that they wanted to get passed, certainly to save money. I mean, that was the biggest challenge that we had up in Harrisburg, to play defense, to make sure that these people didn't get hurt. So again, thank you all, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to let me be here tonight and receive this award. And God bless all of our people in the EMS services. Thank you.
I'd like to call up paramedics Gina Miller and EMT Brian Dominic, if they could come forward. This is truly an amazing story. What you'll hear in a few minutes, what they did, and not just their medical expertise and their quick response, but in first responders, one of the things I can remember 33 years ago is they always teach you to, when you go inside a building or an apartment or a house, to look at your surroundings. And you kind of take that for granted. You're like, oh, okay, what's the next class? You know, they tell you, look at your surroundings and see what you have while you're going to a patient, while you're going to a crime, while you're going to a victim. And these 2 individuals did that such thing. And let me tell you exactly the incident that we're talking about that I'm sure you all saw on the news. On January 24, 2020, at approximately 10:48 p.m., Bensalem EMS and Bensalem Police responded to Finch Drive in Bensalem Township for a report of a 9-month-old child in cardiac arrest. Upon arrival, Bensalem EMS paramedic Gina Miller and emergency medical technician Brian Dominic took control of the child and began to administer medical care. Suspecting a possible opioid overdose, Medic Miller and EMT Dominic administered Narcan to the child, which had a positive effect after time. The child was then transported to Jefferson Tarsdale Hospital for further treatment. The apartment, when they walked in, they noticed right away, along with police, that it was unfurnished and dirty. There were numerous empty medication bottles all throughout the apartment, accessible to the child. They also noticed multiple prescription bottles lying on the bed and the floor, and also an empty bottle in the baby's swing. Following up the investigation, the medical testing revealed that the child's urine tested positive for fentanyl. The child needed to be placed on a ventilator and administered Narcan in order to prevent the death. Additionally, a Narcan drip was required due to the high dose of fentanyl that the child ingested. The child was subsequently transferred to St. Christopher's Hospital in Philadelphia and eventually upgraded to stable condition. Both parents were charged with endangering the welfare of the child, and the child was placed into the County Protective Services. If I'm not mistaken, the child was given 4 milligrams of Narcan at the scene, which is what a grown adult would take. And that didn't do the trick. And then later, had to be put on a Narcan drip. For your training, perseverance, quick life-saving actions, you are hereby recognized by the Bensalem Township Police Department. Thank you, guys. Would Detective Jack Gall please come forward? Detective Gall was promoted to the rank of detective in 2011, and since that time he has made significant impact in the criminal investigations unit. Jack Gall decided to step out of a supervisory role as corporal some years back, which he excelled at, only to become an outstanding detective. Detective Gall has carried a heavy caseload since becoming an investigator and was selected by his supervisors to be part of an alcohol, tobacco, and firearms federal task force. In that role, he immediately forged long-lasting relationships with federal, state, and local authorities throughout our region, which have directly benefited the Bensalem Township Police Department. This assignment had Detective Gall assigned to illegal firearms cases throughout Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and Virginia. After 2 years in that assignment, Detective Gall was selected to participate as a full-time member of the FBI Bucks-Montgomery County Safe Streets Federal Task Force. In this capacity, Detective Gall has been a vital part in several high-profile investigations. Specifically, in 2009, he had an instrumental part in a robbery investigation that stretched 2 states and had numerous robberies in Bensalem Township. This investigation ultimately came to an end when Detective Gall became involved in a justified officer-involved shooting with an armed career criminal. Additionally, Detective Gall led an investigation that resulted in the confiscation of other weapons. An AR-15 rifle was in the possession of other career criminals. When Detective Gall is not involved in high-profile investigations, he can be found on the basketball courts volunteering for the Bensalem Police Athletic League, and other charitable events, and spending time with his family. For your dedication, loyalty, vigilance, teamwork, and excelling in overall job performance throughout the year, you are hereby recognized by the Bensalem Township Police Department for the 2019 Officer of the Year. Your undercover days are over, Joe. We'll see you back on the street. While we do these next awards, can I ask the members of Building a Better Bensalem that are here to please come forward and stand with me? For 16 years in Bensalem Township, we have had an event that, if you don't know about it, hopefully you'll know about it now, called Unity Week. And it's a celebration of diversity in Bensalem Township. We are an extremely diversified community, where we go to 10 houses of worship, and Parks Casino has been a great kickoff for us during the week of Martin Luther King's birthday. And this year, that was January 20th to January 24th. numerous houses of worship through every religion, almost a lot of religions that we have here in Bensalem, open their doors to us for prayer, for explanation of their religion, to teach us, and also to welcome us with some great food, by the way, in many of these. We also, 2 years ago, started another program where we asked children throughout our community to write essays, and they're selected by a group of individuals throughout the school district and our private schools as well, which is the best essays, and then they're read at each of the house of worship. And this year we had 11 winners. So what I'd like to do is recognize the 11 winners of the essay contest. They already got a monetary award, but now we would like to recognize them with an official certificate of achievement from Bensalem Township. And I apologize for the, Michelle, you want to help me out here? If you're here, come up. We're going to bring up everybody together who's here, and then we'll do one big picture afterwards.
Okay. Ivo Brengaza.
Fred,
Do you any photos?
bring the mayor up.
Mayor, come on up.
Okay. Nara Crespo.
Better not put them in the woods.
Crystal Palacios. Hadika Azmanjanova. Aisha Sadiq. Giovanni Padilla. Mersal Goffrey. Kayla Garrison. Evelyn Mariano Bacho. Raylin Cusick. And Erin Mulhern.
You guys did a fantastic job on the essays and reading them, and we certainly appreciate it. And hopefully you'll tell the other students, and next year we'll have more and more folks coming out and submitting essays. But you guys did a great job. Can we give them a big round of applause?
Myself and council were every one of these, and really, an incredible job done by you. We make us really very proud of our council. So congratulations again. And you won the job. I don't know how you did it, and I know many people took part, so it was really tough to pick the winner, right? I know the young lady here who chairs that vote.
One more picture.
Freddie, mention this too. Thanks.
So also, before everybody goes, we have plenty of them. It was published in a booklet, all their essays and Unity Week. So we're going to have them here, and we have one more quick award to give out to the houses of worship. But please, everybody take a booklet. Everybody's free to take a booklet and read these essays. So please, you guys take plenty of them. I get more for you. I want to give them out to Grandma, Grandpa, everybody in the family. So they're really nice booklets that we put together. And I really want to thank council and the mayor that every year continue to put B3T in the budget so we can bring programs like this to the community and partnership certainly with our house of worship and our youth. So I would ask if you guys could take a seat. If the B3 team members just want to stay up real quick. We have just one more. So we do this with the partnership of the Houses of Worship. And I would like to, Mayor, if you want to stay up, Mayor. So we partner with our Houses of Worship, and they don't get anything in return, but I think it's nice if they can display a plaque on a wall that they partnership with the township and the Building a Better Bensalem. So when I call you up, if you could just come up and we'll get everybody together. Parks East. So Parks, Michelle, you here from Parks to accept the award? Parks isn't, although some people might consider Parks a house of worship, but it's, they're the kickoff. Love Fellowship Tabernacle. Lincolnia Tabernacle. I can never pronounce it. Our Buddhist Temple. Faith Unity. Bensalem Presbyterian Church.
Community.
St. Gregorius Orthodox Church. Haval Temple. Haval Temple. Bensalem AME Church. They're up here. Congregation Teref Israel. And St. Ephraim's Roman Catholic Church.
Good. Guys, Toby, take them out to the front desk. Anybody can grab them at the front desk. Take the whole pile out the front. And that way they can grab them at the front desk. How's that? The booklets, ladies and gentlemen, will be in the front desk, in the foyer, in the lobby. So if you go out to the front desk, if you can be excused if you would like to leave now, but the booklets will be at the front desk. Okay, Mr. Pazzo, is there anything coming off the agenda for this evening?
Yes, sir. Item number 7 on this evening's agenda, Millennium Properties and Investments.
Have they offered an alternate date?
They have been continued to the Zoning Hearing Board meeting of March 5th. So I would suggest that they be tabled to the council's second meeting in March.
I have the 23rd here, Joseph. Well, I got the count here, so I got it for you.
It is the 23rd.
All right, gentlemen, we want to move that. Can I have a motion on the floor to continue agenda item number 7, which is a minor land development for Millennium Properties and Investments, 4851 Street Road?
I'll
We have a
second.
motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
And I ask for it to be moved to March 5th.
No.
I'm sorry, that was the other date too, the March 23rd date. Have a motion on that then?
Can I-
We got it, okay.
Comment real quick?
I was taking it off, so, okay.
Mr. Gisblack?
Yeah, go ahead, comment.
Mr. Pazzo, was that a request by the applicant?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
All right, and
Thank you.
Joseph, what else?
Item number 8 is the revised minor subdivision application for the Rohan Group of Companies for 2201 Street Road. We received word from the applicant on Friday that they have formally withdrawn that plan. So there is no action to be taken by the council on that matter.
So this was withdrawn for this evening.
That was withdrawn for this evening and also withdrawn from the township. The applicant has a new plan into the township, a major subdivision, which was filed with the township on January 30th and is in the process of being reviewed by the various review agencies and by the township engineer. So that will be coming in front of you at a later date when it's ready.
So that will be completely re-advertised and as a new development coming before us, correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
So
thank you,
anyway-
Joe. I'd like to ask for agenda item number 6 to be moved up. We have Fred Harron in case there's any questions regarding that. That's a consideration of a public hearing on an ordinance which is amending Chapter 38, smoking in public facilities. Could I ask that to be moved up to agenda item number, what?
3A.
3A?
So moved.
Okay, we have that?
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. Against, any abstentions? That is unanimous. Okay, moving right along, we have public comment was item number 2. That would be for any agenda item, anything at all? Okay, we'll have a second bite of the apple later on agenda items that are to speak on public comment a little later on in the meeting. And let's go to agenda item number 3, which is going to be approval of council minutes for meetings January 6th. We'll take that one first. I have 2 minor changes, and it's on page 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th paragraph, the 3rd line, it says Council President Knowles. That should be Kisselbeck. And then also the same thing on page 3, the very last paragraph, again, it talks about Council President Knowles, and that would be me.
They both begin with K, so
I know. Well, I think she's trying to tell me something, Joe. That's all I have. We all miss you, Joe. Especially when you're here. All right, that's all I have for that, so it's very minor in nature. Is there any other corrections, deletions, changes? If not, I entertain a motion to accept them with the minor correction.
So moved.
Motion on the floor?
Second.
Second on the motion, all those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye, and against the abstentions, that is unanimous. The 13th of January, we have those minutes also.
I have corrections on page 2.
Number 2,
It's under item 2, it's the large paragraph. There's 2 instances where there was a motion to approve, it should be motion to table.
where's that
Let's see,
sentence?
Councilmember Tokomajian, motion to approve, it should be motion to table.
Where is that in the, is it the very end?
5th line down and the second to last line, both instances.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Oh, I see, yeah. I read that, and I was thinking it went in. All right, well, it doesn't matter, but I understand. Okay. With the corrections,
So moved.
we have a motion on the floor to approve it with the corrections.
Second.
Second on the motion. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Vote aye.
Aye, and against, abstentions, unanimous. Okay, moving right on to moving agenda item number 6, which is in place now on agenda item number 3A. And again, this is an ordinance that's coming before us, and if I get there, give me 1 second. And the main definition of this ordinance is to be the public place shall mean an indoor or outdoor facility owned by the township and used by the general public, including any park, recreation facility, or serving as a place of work for public employees or a meeting place for a public body. Smoking shall mean the carrying or use by a person of a lighted cigar, cigarette, pipe, or other lighted smoking devices, as well as carrying or the use by a person of an electronic nicotine delivery system, electronic cigarette, or other vaporizer devices. Okay, so we're basically want to add to our no smoking in our public parks and outdoor facilities. We want to make sure that the vaping aspect of smoking is no longer also being allowed in those places. Fred, can I bring you up and explain, if you would like to, or answer any questions that would be here?
Certainly. I mean, and as you can see, some of the members of Building a Better Bensalem together are here. This idea came up at one of our coalition meetings made up of many people throughout Bensalem Township, members of the clergy from the House of Worship, our executive board, and different groups that come and sit at those meetings and give us ideas. And one of the thoughts that came up was we're having, and I could testify, talk about it in the police stance, is that we are having a huge issue with vaping. Besides the traditional, maybe tobacco products and other products, there's THC being vaped, there's fentanyl being vaped now. There's all kinds of drugs being vaped. It's almost undetected to the naked nose, if you will. Vaping is becoming a more problem. It's another problem that's getting out of control. It started off with just scents and things of that nature, but now there's a lot of illegal substances, and there's a lot of studies out there. We've seen that people are dying because of vaping. We've taken, council had the forefront some years back to make no smoking in our public parks. We have to keep up. I believe we might be the first municipality, maybe Mr. Pizer knows, the first municipality, certainly in Bucks County, to hopefully prohibit vaping after tonight in our public parks and areas like that. So this came as a request. I wear two hats tonight. One as Director of Public Safety and second as a co-chair with Sonny Parikh for Building a Better Bensalem, as well as my other board members, to respectfully request that council pass an ordinance concerning prohibiting the use of vaping products in our public parks and public area.
All right, Joe, this is as legal as can be, is that correct?
It is as legal as can be, in our opinion. It has been properly advertised for your consideration this evening, and it changes absolutely no aspects of what is currently on the books within the township, with the exception of the expansion and clarification that vaping devices, electronic nicotine delivery systems, and electronic cigarettes are specifically included within those definitions.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to come up and comment on this ordinance that's being proposed? Pro or con? Not seeing anyone come up, we'll close the public portion of that. And gentlemen, do you have any questions regarding this?
I have one question. The wording as it's proposed says carrying is prohibited. Is that, can you explain that a little bit? I understand the use of, but I just want to understand the intent of carrying.
So we're talking about tobacco devices in a public park. We're talking about carrying if it's opened and up to someone's mouth. We're not going to be searching people
Right.
If they're carrying. Frankly, if you have a pack of cigarettes in your pocket, it's of no concern to us. It's if when you do it openly and start to smoke it. That's the legal terminology. If you carry it up here, maybe your lips haven't made contact with it, but that's
Right.
the legal
I noticed
verbiage.
the unedited version, carrying of a lighted cigar or cigarette. So I can understand that it's
Well, it's hard to
carrying
tell
that, right.
with the vape because it's electronic. Obviously, you walk around with a cigar or a cigarette, you see the fire at the end.
Obviously, yeah.
You can't see that with a vaping device. So I understand what you're saying. I would ask council to understand that Bensalem Police are it's going to be enforced properly.
Okay. Thank you.
I would add, because Councilman Knowles contacted me separately, raising the exact same question earlier since the packets went out, and I conferred with Fred on this topic. And the language is the language that we have to use. As Fred said, we don't do stop and frisk to look for cigarettes or vaping devices. If you have a lit cigarette out at a ball field or in a park or at a township building in a non-designated smoking area, you're in violation of the ordinance. If you have your vaping device out and in your hand, well, people don't normally walk down the street just carrying them for no reason. It's in a pocket, it's in a purse, it's in a whatever. So the fact that you have it out and near your mouth is what's going to trigger someone, and again, it's probably a multi-step process in all of this happening, but the key here is we're living in a society, people should obey the signs that are posted. Young Lungs at Play is an initiative that the township's a part of to keep our parks, our ball fields smoke-free. And it's that simple. It's being considerate to your neighbor.
So the intent is any outwardly signs of carrying.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to prohibit.
Yes.
Understood.
And Jess, that was my
Go
concern
ahead.
too. Jess, that was my concern too, because most people don't walk around with an unlit cigarette, but you can have an unlit cigar. And I'm like, if someone has an unlit cigar in their shirt pocket, it's okay, but if they have a vaping device. But the vaping, I was concerned too, because there are adults who are getting off cigarettes who don't have vaping devices that are flavored or have drugs mixed in them or anything that may need to use them, but they're not setting a good example for children, and they're not setting a good example for other younger kids using them. And as long as they have them away, it's okay. I just want to make sure as long as they have a vaping device, which they may need, if they have it in their pocket, it's okay to carry it around in a park. You know what I mean? It wasn't going to be like illegal to have one in a park. But that's good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, the only other question, and it's somewhat unrelated, just as we're talking about, the smoking ordinance, do we have any restriction, Mr. Pies, this might be a question for you, are there any restrictions for smoke or vape shops near public places, like public parks, schools, things of that
Studios.
nature?
From a zoning perspective, no, I don't believe that we do. I don't know if under any state statutes, any state criminal statutes, I know that the state recently changed the rules regarding vaping as they pertain to public schools. Fred might want to touch on that. But from a zoning perspective, no, I don't believe that there's.
Because I know there was, when we
The
addressed the medical marijuana,
yeah.
there was an issue
Measuring
about
how
radius
far
removal.
Belmont School was from.
For medical marijuana, there are similar regulations for when a liquor license wants to transfer into the township from somewhere else in the county. The placement of adult businesses under our ordinance, again, have to be certain distances from schools, places of worship, things of that nature. But cigarettes, tobacco products in and of themselves, no, I don't believe any of our zoning tackles that.
Okay.
Nor do I think you could legally attack it.
I agree.
Who was that?
And Fred, just the change in the law regarding the schools.
So the House of Representatives and the Senate passed the law. The governor signed off on it. I believe it goes into effect June or July before the kids come back to school. The governor's signing of that law changes, and well, it doesn't change. It adds vaping to the definition of nicotine. So now there's no law prohibiting kids from vaping in school. When they come back in September, there will be a law on the books that prohibits them from vaping in school.
It's a big.
We try to keep up with the technology, and I do, this council and the mayor have always been, you could see everything that happened here tonight. You guys are always ahead of the curve. And I don't think anybody else in Bucks County has this. I guarantee you'll start to see it now. They're like, oh, Bensalem did it again.
Okay, another question, gentlemen? Ask for a motion on the floor then?
I'll make a motion, we approve as presented.
So we have a motion on the
I'll
floor.
second.
We have a second on the motion. Any additional discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Unanimous? All right, and since I have Director Horan up here, Councilman Tokmajian had asked for he would give a presentation, a short presentation, relative to the officers on the school bus. I'm sure people had seen it on the newscast. It was on several times as to what's happening, and that was regarding the accident that was on the Bensalem Boulevard. And so if you can elaborate on that, we'd appreciate it.
Certainly, Mr. President, you had asked to give just a quick overview. So as you know, last week we started putting police officers randomly on school buses, and especially conferring with the school district and the bus garage and different drivers where the most violations occur. So since then, we've had a couple days with officers on the bus. I can tell you right now, we haven't had, I think we had 2 violations from that detail, but just going back, this was not new to us. Extra patrol during school hours and in school zones. I just want to give you a couple stats that we just captured over the last 6 months. The Bensalem School District, and I believe they're moving ahead with even more now, they have some cameras on the buses, on the outside of the buses, and when the arm goes out, there's a camera that will take a picture of your license plate.
We have that? You say we have that?
We have some of them right now. I talked to Superintendent Lee. I believe it is the position of the school district. Their plans are to outfit all the buses in the very near future with that. But just with some of the buses having that to date in the last 6 months, we've had 25 violations where the arm went out and the school bus arm camera captured violations. So the violation is captured and sent to us, and we write the citation. The school district can't write the citation. An additional 21 citations were written in school zones for people passing school buses while the arm is out. just by patrol cars increasing patrol during those hours. We think in the near future, with patrol officers on the buses, or an officer on the bus with tail cars, that number will increase, and then hopefully, finally, the people in Bensalem will get the message. Because, just so you know, it is, the fine is $250, but more importantly, it's a 5-point on your driver's license, and it's a 60-day suspension of your driver's license. So most people can't afford a 60-day suspension of their driver's license. And these aren't bad people. These aren't career criminals. They're people going to work.
These are people who are traveling through Bensalem, not Bensalem.
Never a Bensalem person does this. It's always those traveling through. You know what I said? If we could build a wall around Philadelphia, we'd be pretty good. So that's, those are some of the statistics that we've seen in the last 6 months, but this is a new detail. We've got a lot of great feedback on social media. I think we had 78 or 87, I'm a little dyslexic sometimes, shares, or views rather, which is pretty big. So for a small public service announcement, that was 1 minute and 3 seconds. So we're out there, we work constantly with the school district. We have a great partnership to make sure that our kids are getting to and from school safely, and that's the goal.
Okay, thank you, Director. Okay,
Just to reiterate one question, sorry. Just to reiterate, the increase in patrol cars as well as being on those buses will continue to increase, I should say, or you're going to continue to do that on a consistent basis?
Oh my God, yes. We're just getting started. This is not where we're going to be out there working with the buses to identify the best times. And we're constantly looking at new things to improve safety. So we have a couple new ideas coming up that I'm going to talk to the mayor about in the next couple of weeks. So
Okay.
a lot of stuff happening. We don't stop here.
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to move on to agenda item number 4. This is a consideration of a preliminary and final land development plan. This is for Truemark Financial Credit Union. The address is 3250 Tillman Drive. This is a proposed mixed-use PCD professional commercial district, and the tax map parcel is 2-35-1-1. And if we can have, you can identify yourself, and if you have someone else going to testify, they can be sworn in.
Yes, thank you. Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin. I do also have with me Jared Lohman from Nave Newell, as well as Mark Roth and Tyler Kraus from McMahon, and Kevin Murphy is here on behalf of Truemark.
Why don't you just come up and sworn in? If we need questions, they'll be ready to go, and if not, they can just down closer to you, and we'll move it along.
Absolutely.
State your name, please, sir.
Kevin Murphy. Mr. Roth, your name?
Mark Roth, Jared Lohman.
I'm sorry.
Jared Lohman, L-O-W-M-A-N.
Do you gentlemen solemnly swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay? You're sworn in. What's that?
All right. Will council like the physical plan as well, or is electronic sufficient?
Electronic should be good.
Okay, great. As I said, I'm Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin. We're here on behalf of Truemark. We are proposing to build a 2,624 square foot Truemark Financial Credit Union on 3240 Tillman Drive. Presently located at that property is an Outback Steakhouse. As you can see from the plan which is in front of you, the Outback Steakhouse is going to remain as part of this application. The parcel is 3.77 acres. It's located in the PCD district. We did appear in front of the zoning hearing board in September. We were seeking and were granted one variance, and that was to permit a 64-foot setback from Tillman Drive, because technically this is a double frontage lot. We submitted our land development plans. We actually submitted them as a sketch plan originally, but then we appeared in front of the Planning Commission in January, and we received recommended approval, which was unanimous at that time. We have 2 waivers. One is to be granted preliminary, final simultaneously. We have 1 waiver of substance. Before I get into that very briefly, I think it would be worthwhile to address one concern that did come up at the Planning Commission, and that is, if you take a look at that plan, currently there is a sidewalk on Street Road, and there is a sidewalk on the other end of Tillman Drive. The plan as depicted does not show a sidewalk on the portion of Tillman Drive which is closest to Truemark. We are very happy to install a sidewalk. We're also happy to provide a fee in lieu, whatever the township's preference is. I believe the sidewalk, or the lack thereof, it wasn't depicted originally because if you keep following Tillman Drive down off of Street Road, it ends up just dumping into a basin, and we thought with the sidewalk across on the other end of Tillman Drive that that would be adequate, but it certainly seemed to be the sentiment of the Planning Commission, and I know it's a sentiment throughout the township to have sidewalks where appropriate, and I just wanted to make clear that we're not requesting a waiver. We are more than happy to install the sidewalks.
And that sidewalk will not lead to either the, your new building and/or the other buildings existing, is that correct?
Correct.
So it just goes down the parallel with the other sidewalk that's
Yes,
there?
that's correct.
All right, so you would be willing to accept payment in lieu of,
Absolutely.
okay? And so you would be requesting a waiver on that, and
If that is the
Accordingly.
township's preference, yes.
that would be mine, just my personal preference.
Okay.
Whatever the other gentlemen address, if they have another issue, please speak up. And
Just on the subject of sidewalks, and I couldn't figure out, or either the Bucks County Planning Commission or our traffic engineer, I read through this stuff, said that he wanted a sidewalk to connect the 2 sites, but it didn't seem to make sense to be able to do. I didn't know what he was, to have it, he was concerned about sidewalks, and I thought as we went along, I checked it here.
I don't remember reading this,
So do you have any, but the way it sits in the parking area, it doesn't look like that would make any sense to have.
No, I think all we're
It says
discussing.
it's on the traffic planning, and number 3, pedestrian connections between the proposed credit union and Outback Steakhouse should be provided. What does that mean?
Well, I certainly, that wasn't what we were envisioning. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense.
Well, it's from the traffic and planning design letter, general comments. I don't know. I think, are you going to have the only thing I'm thinking he might have been talking about was maybe.
Some walkway.
Or like where you have to a crossing where like if someone's in the cross zone between the bank and the restaurant that they have to let them cross. I don't know who would walk from a bank to a restaurant, but.
No, and we're happy to certainly put
Unless they didn't have money for the check and they had to run to the bank and come back, you know?
I think the employees there may be doing some takeout for lunch on a frequent
But it
basis.
says pedestrians connection between the proposed
Yeah, I mean, maybe
credit
just
union.
a striped crosswalk.
That's
on the
certainly
street.
fine. We're agreeable to do that. I can't see any way with the plan configuration
Yeah, I
it would
couldn't
make
see it
sense
either,
for a
but
sidewalk
I'm not a
internally.
traffic engineer.
No, I think
was wondering what he was
no.
talking about.
Striped crosswalk.
That's
should be
certainly
sufficient.
fine. We were discussing the sidewalk really just along the strip of Tillman all the way down. We're happy to install that. That's what we envisioned, either installing
Is there
or.
a public transportation stop at that intersection for SEPTA
On Street Road.
on Street Road in
On Street,
Tillman?
not Tillman, but on Street
But
Road.
on Street Road on this side. So that would make sense if pedestrians are getting on and off there, I think it would make sense that they might be walking into, either of those sites. So for me, it would make sense to extend the sidewalk.
It's further down by,
Yeah, the-
Rob is where it is, it's not.
Yeah, the other comment,
I know, okay.
Yeah.
yeah, the other comment about the sidewalk, it was number 2, right above it, I had checked over here. It says a sidewalk connection from the site to the sidewalk on Street Road should be provided to increase the site connectivity. I don't know what he's talking about there either.
No, again, I was
It's
picturing
in the
this-
letter dated January 21st from the traffic planning and design.
I would think the one on Street Road is already there. The one
Yeah.
on Tillman Drive, people aren't gonna walk down to Tillman Drive. They're gonna walk the Street Road to get to the bus that's there.
Correct.
But down by Carrabba's, So to put sidewalks going down there, it's going to nowhere. We'd be better use the money and do it somewhere else.
And to be clear, there is a sidewalk on Tillman. It's just on the other end.
Yeah,
of
I
Tillman.
agree, I just don't know why a traffic planning guy designed would ask for that when it didn't make sense to me. You know?
I believe the TPD suggestion there, and I don't know if grades will allow it, Mr. Benner may be able to opine, but I think TPD there is talking about a sidewalk coming directly in from the existing sidewalk on street, straight back toward the building, so that somebody who's on Street Road doesn't have to loop all the way around
that's ridiculous.
to come in, that a sidewalk straight from the existing sidewalk, mid-block, let's say, between one end of Tillman and the other, straight back into the building.
Just a short strip of sidewalk that connects right from Street Road.
I think
to the
that's what
parking lot.
TPD is suggesting there.
I think that's, to me, you're sending people into a parking lot to get hit by a car, you know, like in the middle of a parking lot, but I couldn't figure out what he was talking about, but
Yeah.
whatever.
I don't think that that's necessary.
I think there should be some kind of crossover, like a
Certainly.
crossing zone
Absolutely.
from the bank, so like, just so people know when someone's in that crossing zone, to let them cross, you
Yes.
know? So people aren't trying to get from the bank to the restaurant and not be able to get across the parking lot, but you can't.
And that makes sense. The one waiver, the substantive waiver that we are seeking is from 196-61B1, and that's a requirement for the storm sewers to have reinforced concrete of 18-inch diameter. We are seeking a waiver to permit 15-inch diameter. And I will note that Mr. Benner's review letter dated January 10th indicated that he had no objection to that waiver being granted.
All right, Russ, can you explain that to us? Why?
Yeah, you know, in the current ordinance, and quite frankly, in a lot of ordinance, there's an 18-inch minimum pipe requirement that exists. And essentially, it says that even if you only hydraulically needed a 12-inch pipe, you have to put an 18-inch pipe in anyway. It's kind of an old PennDOT leftover requirement. From our position is, in this case, they want to put a 15-inch pipe in instead of an 18-inch pipe. They submit very detailed calculations to us to make sure that the pipe is adequate in size. And adequate in size is not only to pass the water that's needed, but also to make sure it doesn't surcharge or create a backwater flooding issue. Once again, we look at all of those things. And when periodically this waiver request will come up, and we look at it, and if we have no objection to it, that's what we state in our letter. So,
Right.
but once again, it's always up.
Calculations show functionality is there.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Once again, it's always up to council to pass, official judgment on whether you want to pass that waiver or not. But from our standpoint of view, from an engineering position, we don't have an issue with it.
All right, and that's in Chapter 196, that's the Stormwater Management Ordinance, and that's number 2, I believe.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's where that can be found.
Yes.
So basically, you're asking for 2 waivers. There were 21 or so issues, of which there was only one relative to the sidewalks,
Correct.
whether it be payment in lieu of, and then going to the stormwater management, we have the other request, which is for the 15-inch pipe versus the 18-inch pipe, and our township engineer has approved your request.
And all other items will comply.
All right, gentlemen?
Can I ask you a question about the pipe waiver? There was also note of finished grading being higher than the first floor elevation. That's T&M letter number 15. Was that addressed?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Jared Lohman with Nave Newell, we're the civil engineer and planner. That's, I believe, simply just a plan drafting error that will correct incorrect spot elevation.
Okay.
You did say you're will comply with everything, right?
Correct.
So anything that's there that needs to be changed, you guys are gonna make the change.
That is correct. Everything is a will comply.
I wanted to clarify about you made a statement that the parking's acceptable for the restaurant, the
Yeah.
Outback and the bank.
So I can explain that.
Okay, and it's something about 84 spots for the restaurant left, or 85 spots, and that doesn't involve cross parking from the bank?
No, both the Outback use and the TrueMark use independently, without relying on any reciprocal easement agreements of any sort, have adequate parking. So by way of further explanation, we have 15 parking spots that are required and dedicated for the TrueMark site. There are 155 parking spots on site. The operative calculation for the Outback lot is you take the number of seats, which is 218 seats, and we have a letter from Glenview, who's the landlord, that affirms that that's the legal capacity. And you divide that in two, so you get 109, and then you add the number of employees in the largest shift, which is 30, and you get 139 parking spots, which are required for Outback. You add the 15 spaces for TrueMark, there are 154 parking spots required. We have 155, so we meet that requirement. And I would also note that I think the TrueMark and the Outback are compatible uses in terms of, the Outback peak time is going to certainly be different than when a credit union peak time is going to be in terms of customer.
And the TrueMark has a drive-through, so a lot of people aren't going to need it.
That is correct, yes.
What about during construction? During construction, are you going to meet the minimum parking requirements for the site?
For the Outback?
For the Outback?
Yes, I don't think we're not at any point going to be exacerbating Outback's parking condition. They will be compliant. And we are actually reducing, I will note, the impervious. We are installing a rain garden, and we're reducing the impervious on site.
And the other question was, when I saw on the plan, they had, and Russ might have to answer this too, but they had a proposal for taking out trees. They were just like X'd out from islands that you were taking out, for instance, near where the TrueMark, where it's a parking lot now. There was islands being taken out. It had eliminated trees. Are those trees being replaced somewhere else, or are they meeting the requirements for trees? Were they trees that were required to be put in the first place? So should they also, if they can't put them somewhere, pay in lieu of for the trees that they're removing? I don't know what the deal is on these trees.
Yeah, I think the idea should be, if the trees are being removed, they should then be replaced on site, would be
Right,
appropriate.
that's what I'm asking. Are
Yeah.
they being replaced somewhere else on the site? Because you're removing trees from a parking lot that were used for the parking lot that where the credit union's going to be. Where are those trees that you're removing? Where are they going to be replaced? And if they can't be replaced, determined by an engineer, then you should pay in lieu of the trees.
I think the first thing we need to look at is, were they trees that were part of the approval for the development, or are they trees that were just put in, by some one of the places just to make it look nice, so to say?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right, so that's something that Russ will have to look and see.
Well-
And if they were approved, then you'll have to give us fee in lieu of for those trees, and we'll put them somewhere else.
Completely agree. If they were installed as part of that approval process and we're removing them and are unable to replace them at the site, we're certainly agreeable as a fee in lieu to the township.
Yeah, and we would determine that if they're based essentially in the parking area, they're required by the landscaping requirements of the parking area, they then would be a fee offered.
Right, and we'll work with Mr. Benner to his satisfaction.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys don't mind donating a couple trees.
Of course not.
You know?
Of course not.
It's good for everybody.
Yes.
Because the property has double frontage on Tillman and Street Road, does PennDOT have to weigh in on any of this? Is it no, because there's no access?
Yeah, there's no
point
new
from-
access
Okay,
points.
Correct.
that's what I thought.
There's a note on the T&M letter about refuse collection. Can you show us on the plan where that is intended to be?
Well, the most we would use is a 2-yard dumpster. And we're, Kevin Murphy.
Thank you.
The most we would use is a 2-yard dumpster, and we could look at sharing Outbacks, or we could have our cleaners take the trash with them at night.
All right, so you don't have a definitive answer on
We
that
don't
yet?
have a definitive.
I mean, and the reason why I'm pointing that out is because, one, you're saying that will comply with all these items, and then if you note on the TPD letter, there's an item about a truck turning plan. So obviously, based off of where you put that container is going to be pertinent for that truck turning plan,
Yeah.
correct?
But if worse comes to worse, we can have the cleaners take the trash with them.
He was
We
talking
do
about
that
Ron
on
Ganson's
facilities.
letter as well, why not the...
And again, we don't generate a ton of trash, you're not talking about Yeah.
Understood, but still and yet, if you plan on putting a container out there.
Well,
now
did
you gotta check-
did the fire marshal pass that you'd be able to turn the fire truck around, so you can't,
Yes.
you're not gonna be able to put something else in that a fire truck can't get in and out?
Correct.
Yeah, it was in there, it was clear.
Yeah, there were no comments.
So a fire truck can get in and out, you can't put something later that a fire truck can't get in and out, I would assume.
We understand.
Just to add on to Mr. Sloan's point about the parking during construction, safety concerns too as well with a lot of, that restaurant can get busy on a Friday, Saturday night. Are you going to ensure that the area is safe?
Construction would be more like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're out of there by 2 or 3 o'clock, so that shouldn't interfere with their hours.
Plans for weekend construction or just Monday through Friday?
Just Monday through Friday.
I think what,
Unless for some reason they wanted to pour sidewalks on the Saturday.
I think what Mr. Turkmeza was worried about, and I may be reading it wrong, but I think in terms of, is the building encapsulated in such of a way that people wouldn't be able to fall into a hole or trip over a piece of equipment or something like that? Would there be fencing around the project or
Yeah.
something? Is that where we were going?
Yeah,
We would
correct.
secure
That's
the
it as well.
property adequately. Obviously, the last thing we want to do is create any safety hazards for any of the
And
patrons at Outback.
Building and planning and the engineering firm will be looking at that like they do every other construction to make sure that there is no safety hazards.
Correct.
Yeah, and there's a lot of liability on your part, too, if
Yes.
someone got injured on the construction site from an Outback patron.
Yes.
We'll also fence it in to keep it
Yeah, make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, is there any other questions, gentlemen?
I got one other.
One more, Ed?
One more.
Okay.
Real quick about the pipe again. I know, can you just clarify, Russ, on the BCPC letter, it states that since this is a standalone ordinance, relief from this position may not be granted under the subdivision. So are we still within compliance if we approve that?
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, you're still in compliance because the issue that was stated earlier, and it's true, there's actually a decrease in the amount of impervious coverage on the site. And there is a basin there now that the water drains to, I believe.
Right.
And so from that point of view, they don't need stormwater retention that the ordinance requires. The ordinance states that if you're not increasing impervious coverage, you don't need that.
I think what he was referring to was it's not part of the subdivision and land development.
Correct.
It's part of the
Right.
stormwater management, right?
Right.
And in fact, you're going to
Exactly.
be putting a rain garden in, which
That's-
is going to help with taking some of the water, so you're not going to have that water runoff. So the 15-inch pipe, we've done this on other projects too, would be allowed.
Correct.
Yeah, and that rain garden addresses water quality issues as well, rather than water quantity issues. It does that too.
Any else? Any other questions, gentlemen? Would anyone like to come forward and comment? Alan? As you know the rule, give your name, your address, big smile, make it within half an hour and you're out of here.
Alan Windsor, 3232 Azalea Avenue. I don't have anything wrong with this. I'm a member of TrueMark for 35 years. I can walk to it now. I can't walk to it when they put this in, but that's my hell to pay, I guess you call it.
You still walk to it.
Yeah, I can, yes. Not on Street Road, though.
There's sidewalks there.
I don't trust Street Road. I don't even drive Street Road. The only thing I don't like is no dumpster, because if they're moving out of a place now, 25 years from now, if they move out, are you going to make the people that move into that building install a dumpster, or should they just do it now? That's the only problem I have. Thank you.
Well, I think as the engineer would review the plans, if he would make an area appropriated to that specific area, whether it's put in or not, I think that would be part of the plan itself as it would be final submission.
And that's fine. We're agreeable to that, yes.
I've got a question actually from Mr. Murphy. To that regard, how do you handle sensitive client information? And how is that disposed of? Shredded?
Can you move to the mic, please?
Sorry.
Right here.
We would shred any sensitive information. We have a company that we deal with for shredding.
Do it get sent out for shredding? Or is
We
it
have
done
a bin
internally?
that gets collected on a weekly basis.
Okay, so that wouldn't be part of this
No, it wouldn't
issue
be
at all?
part of the
You have to do that by law.
Just making sure.
You
Wanted to
you have to do that
understand.
by law, so.
No, yeah. Most of what we do from a banking perspective is shredded. You know, you talk about people's lunches and miscellaneous, you know.
Understood.
Which is why we don't generate a lot of trash to begin with.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll close the public portion on that.
There's a big thing in the yard.
Gentlemen, your pleasure.
They can go to jail for that.
I'm looking for a preliminary and final land development motion, if you are interested.
I'll put the motion up to approve
But he has to, because I don't know.
the prelim and final land development for True Mark Financial Credit Union tax parcel 02-035-001 with the waiver of the pipe. I'm looking for that section.
Stormwater management.
B2. B2.
E2 on TNM? Yes. There we go. In accordance with Section 196-61, storm sewers, requiring a minimum inside diameter of 18 inches, waiving that to allow a 15-inch pipe. I am also including on the approval the sidewalks. I believe they're important for safety reasons along Tillman from the corner to the end where you had proposed. And I believe that
Do you want them installed or pay in lieu of?
I want them installed.
I think they walk to it. Okay, all right.
That's what I'm suggesting. And that would be my, and including with the waiver, the preliminary, including with the final land development plan.
Can we also add to that, they agree to work together with the engineer on the trees and on the dumpster situation, and will comply with whatever the engineer has?
I'll also add that to my motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor, second on the motion. Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any against, any abstentions? All right, unanimous.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You're welcome. I would ask for payment in lieu of, but the motion on the floor. I know, I just let it go. No, exactly. Agenda item number 5, consideration and public hearing on an ordinance amending Chapter 225 is Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking Regulations, Section 7, Parking or Stopping. And Mr. Pizzo, why don't you take this one?
I would be happy to. As happens from time to time, the township received some comments and concerns from residents regarding parking of vehicles, particularly commercial vehicles, on Salem Drive. The Township Police Department Traffic Safety Officer went out, performed an inspection, made a recommendation to the administration for the placement of no parking signs on Salem Drive from Garden Lane to the dead end of Salem Drive. The administration, concurring with the recommendation of the Traffic Safety Officer, directed the preparation of the ordinance that is before you this evening. It has been duly advertised in the Bucks County Courier-Times and is acceptable for your consideration this evening.
Okay, gentlemen, you have any questions?
Yeah, it looks like this is a tiny little stretch of Salem Drive that's just at the end, and there's only one house down on this stretch of Salem Drive. Do we know, do these trucks belong to the homeowners? And do we know who's parking there and where this has come from?
The neighbors have, as you can see from the attached memorandum, had been receiving complaints that, as the photograph reflects, there's, I believe, at least 2 commercial vehicles that are parked there. In the street. And there appears to be a third commercial vehicle that I'm assuming is in a driveway there. For the other properties along that stretch of the roadway,
There's no other properties, there's only one property.
Isn't there two, isn't there two? is there-
No, there's two driveways.
There's two driveways,
But
yeah.
it's both sides of the house. It looks like there's two garages.
Well, the
one on each
person who
side.
pulls
I'm
out.
afraid,
And I'm just
I'm
going off
afraid
of
I
Google
can't
Maps.
tell you more than what
I
the
know, but
traffic
Jess,
safety.
I think it said in the letter that the person pulling out of that driveway is the one that complained that they can't get out. They can't get out because of that truck across the street. Those two tractor trailer fronts, whatever they call them, the front of a tractor trailer, the person in that driveway can't back out of the driveway.
I understand. And
So I doubt that they would belong to that person if they want.
the only reason I brought the question up is because from the photo, it looks like there's another commercial vehicle, looks like an ice cream truck or something, in the driveway of that house. So I don't know if it was related,
I do think that ice cream truck belongs to that person at that house.
but not the truck cabs.
But not the truck cabs.
Okay.
And this is the same place where we had the gentleman come up and complain about all ice cream trucks and full loading and running a business, having the
That's
house
right.
and stuff. So-
Got it. Okay.
So I think he can have his ice cream truck in that one driveway, but he can't
Can he
stick
eat
it
it
on the
too?
street.
Got it. Understood.
Any other comments, gentlemen? Would anyone like to come forward? Not seeing any come forward, I'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve as presented.
Motion on the floor?
I'll second it.
Second on the motion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any against, any abstentions, unanimous? Okay. We're on to agenda item number 9. Consideration of a resolution, this is approving the destruction of records of the Building and Planning Department. The destruction shall be in compliance with the Municipal Records Manual of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is something we just do occasionally, and we put the records onto some type of digital record file, so we do have the records on file, but after years of accumulating paper, we decide to destroy them. Joe, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I believe you covered everything, Mr. Kisselback. As the memorandum to Ms. McBreen from Director Farrell indicates, the documents that are listed for destruction have all been scanned. So these are the originals that are at this point in storage boxes. And again, the proposed destruction of them is in accordance, and the actual destruction itself will be in accordance with the state records, or the state regulations for doing so.
Any other questions from any of the council members?
What's generally the time frame on the state regulation? I mean, some of these are as of a week or two ago, these documents that are being destroyed.
February 11th.
I don't think there's a date, is there, Joe? It's
That's
just
what
you
I'm
have to have them microfished and have them in
There are different regulations for different categories of documents, most of which would be financial in nature. Again, all of these documents at this point in time have been scanned into the system. Their destruction for common area 3-year apartment inspections, there is, to my knowledge, no applicable state regulation for how long the township would have to keep them. So the fact that they are last year's, if they have been scanned and the township otherwise has preserved them, I don't know that the township needs to maintain by law, needs to maintain them any longer. If, however, you have any concern about any particular category, we can strike them from the list and advise the administration that you have some concern.
Do we have off-site electric storage or cloud-based electric storage?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if anyone else at the table or in the room does, but I don't.
All right, gentlemen, your pleasure.
I would prefer that we keep more recent documents, say in the 6 months to a year time frame. I'd like to hear thoughts from other.
I don't even know whether they're capable of doing that, though. 6 months is a long time if they're building up. If there are applications for you to do something, and then you do it, and you have them scan the actual application, there's files of what you actually did, too, so I don't know. Could cause other issues.
But these are still scanned. I mean, we still have copies of these records, correct?
Right.
Yeah. How long do we keep the electronic versions And how difficult is it to obtain those records if someone was to come in and request a scanned image?
The Building and Planning Department has access to all records and can go back as far as they put the law in to start scanning them. And yes, they can be retrieved by employees of Building and Planning or whatever other departments that have them. Because we have discussed that in the past and wanted to make sure for safety, that you can get back to them. And you can, and that was all part of what was approved.
Yeah, they have decades.
I mean, you need it for safety, for legal,
They have
all kinds
decades
of reasons
of
why we need to maintain access to them. I'm just wondering
They have
about what the
decades
extent
of
of
it.
that access is.
I would, in my experience in 25 years of representing the township generally is not in a hurry to dispose of records it finds to be of value or of importance or that it is otherwise legally required to maintain. So to the extent that the Director of the Building and Planning Department has indicated that all of these documents have been scanned into the scanning system that the township has been using since the technology arrived and began to be used for this purpose by the township, coupled with the fact that he says he doesn't need the originals, coupled with the fact that he says the originals are taking up space in his department, I think council can rely on those bits of information from the Director of Building and Planning that the destruction of the records is not problematic, is necessary, and is recommended. Again, at the end of the day, it is up to the five of you to determine whether that recommendation is one that you're going to follow or not. But that's as much as I can add to the conversation.
Now, Mr. Sloan, if you wanted, in my estimation, if you wanted to get more information about the process before you want to vote on this at, in the next meeting or something, but to just arbitrarily say, let's hold everything for 6 months, I don't know how that affects.
No, Mr. Mills, I think that's a good point.
Affects the department or how much that backs things up, or, so to me, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yes. Well, I'm going to put a motion up that we approve the request for the destruction of the records.
I'll second the motion.
All right, is there any additional discussion on the motion?
I just don't think that we have enough information in front of us to be confident in how that process takes place to just get rid of these documents at this point.
Okay, any additional discussion? Not hearing any, I'll call the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Nay.
So I have a 4-to-1 vote. Jesse Sloan voting no. Okay. Moving right, and we certainly understand your position.
But can we get clarification from whoever takes care of this for the future and give it to council to let us know what the availabilities are, how the system works?
And that the,
Mr. Pizzo, is that something that you can ask the mayor for?
And what's scanned is electronically protected?
And are we storing it? Do we have off-site storage? Is it cloud-based? I mean, there's lots of unknowns in here.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it's 6 of one, one half dozen the other. If you have paper files and you have a fire, they're gone. If they're in the cloud, you get lost there.
There's laws that they have to file, or that they have to follow. So all this is being done by the laws that are made up by the state and by the federal government. So they have to follow those guidelines. We put a system in to do all this stuff to keep the records safe and not have documents laying around so somebody can't come in and, if we have a water problem or if somebody come in and steal the documents, you're getting rid of them and they're out there and they're safe.
Okay.
But we'll ask the mayor to get us some clarification from our IT department.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Agenda item number 10, we have consideration of a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to submit the intergovernmental business partner agreement to authorize electronic access to PennDOT systems at political subdivision. Mr. Pizzo?
I don't believe I can add much to what you already said,
Let
Mr.
Aaron take it
Kisselback.
then, Joe.
Excuse me?
Let Aaron take it then.
I'd be more than happy to. Unfortunately, with Mr. Mr. Samori having been out to do all of last week, I did not have an opportunity to go over this particular item with him in advance of this evening's meeting. So I can't give you any intelligent description of what the business partner ID system is with PennDOT. Mr. Benner or Quentin may know something about the business partner ID system. I don't. As to the agreement itself, I had reviewed it in advance of this evening's meeting, and it appears acceptable for your consideration and signature, but I just can't tell you what it is that you would be agreeing to participate in.
All right, Russell, do you have any additional information on this?
And I have to be careful about this. I mean, obviously, I didn't read this tonight from the standpoint of we're going to provide an explanation, but I will tell you in general, what this allows is, PennDOT has an ECMS system where it essentially allows you to conduct business with them, whether it be plan reviews for construction projects, bidding projects, and essentially, if you, as an example, the Route 13 streetscape project, if PennDOT was bidding that through a grant process, when you get done with your documents, you would upload those documents onto the ECMS system. PennDOT can review them, return back comments on that, and what I believe is necessary here in this resolution is you just have to agree to be a business partner with them from the standpoint of them being able then to allow you to join the ECMS system. As an example, our firm, who does a lot of business with PennDOT, uploads documents, goes out to bid. We're a business partner with PennDOT, which allows us access to the ECMS system.
So we're approving the application to participate in this program?
You are correct.
And basically just setting up the account to log on and have access to everything.
Correct. There'll be very limited access. You'll appoint an administrator. That's the person that'll have, with maybe a backup that'll have access to that system.
But this is something the township needs to interact with PennDOT properly.
Yes,
Between
correct.
the township and PennDOT with road projects and stuff, so.
Correct.
I would think-
All right, I ask for a motion to be put on the floor, gentlemen?
Wait, I have,
Motion, well, you can answer, but we have a motion on the floor. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second on the motion? Eddie?
yeah, just, I have a couple other, so this is just simply just for public projects that we're looking to do. Unrelated to contractor access, they would have their own access then, is what I
Yeah,
understand.
like, this would not have to do as it relates to like a highway occupancy permit application that a developer is making for a development in the township.
Yep,
That's
okay.
not what this is necessarily about.
The agreement also indicates something as far as total costs of software and hardware. Do we have any idea if there's any costs associated with this?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll tell you, there's no, from our standpoint of view, us using the system, there's no special hardware requirements. But once again, I don't want to speak to that because I just don't know what the costs are for that.
If there is an expense to this, it would have to be something that is budgeted for or in a budgeted area for them to spend the money if it was costing anything. But I don't think with PennDOT, there is a charge because it makes it easier to get back and forth and send the plans over. And it's part of a system, we would just go on like online and.
Yeah, understood. I still wanted to ask the question.
Yep, all right,
Okay.
good question.
All right,
Thank you.
gentlemen, any other questions? I entertain a motion.
Motion
I'm
was
sorry, we'll
made.
vote on the motion. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any against, any abstentions? I have it as unanimous. And let me see here. Okay, we have some escrow releases here. We have agenda item number 11, which is, I love this one, NKK LLC, also known as Candlewood Suite, release number 2. Previously, Sal Ben Realty. Yikes. Okay. Russ, I'm going to ask you to comment on this. There was a request of, $367,000? This amount, this release is $45,000, which would zero out the account. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And where is this? What is this? There's so many names, I don't even know what the heck it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn this one to Quentin. He's gonna come up and he'll be able to answer specific questions. The one, this is for closing out of this project. It's completed. There's no public improvement dedication for this particular project. That's why the balance is being zeroed out, but I'll also allow Quentin to comment on that.
Okay, so this is an old project. I forget exactly when the first release came through, but they never did follow up with another release. So we went back out just to make sure there's no issues, and that's one reason why we're releasing all the remaining escrows.
Where's this located?
This is Old Street Road at the very dead end near Crafton Drive in Nottingham.
Yeah, is the hotel that they rebuilt?
Yeah.
It's a brand new hotel that's up up all the way at the end. It's, I guess right now it's kind of on the Route 1 northbound for the Street Road
Where the
exit.
San Remo, Golden Horse, that area.
Do we know who we're making this check out to?
That'll be up to the finance department.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's it, so we know what it is, and we know it's finalized, and that would be the end of that. All right, gentlemen, your pleasure,
Make a motion to approve as presented,
I'll second it.
and that would be subject to audit.
subject to audit by the finance department.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And against, the abstentions unanimous, thank you, gentlemen. Consideration of escrow release, Ivy State Road, release number 1, 3750 State Road, and here's a tax map parcel, ready for this one, 279-9-4, 279-9-52, 79-9-6, 279-10, 280-28. There's going to be a test after this meeting to see if you got all those numbers, especially from the correspondent over there.
Quinn, I have some questions on this one. First thing, I know when we approved this project, part of the requirement was the intersection. Is that been completed yet?
The intersection on Winks, or right at Winks and State Road? The intersection
Yes,
improvements?
correct.
Yeah, there's separate money in escrow for that, for an agreement with the township. Not sure what the status is. It's been a couple of weeks, maybe almost a month, but I don't know where the HOP stands with traffic plan. I know there's a lot of comments going back and forth. I know one of the things is they're not building occupied till those improvements are addressed.
Perfect, thank you. Okay.
There's a separate escrow.
There's a separate
And there's
escrow.
separate escrow. Do you, off by chance, you know how much? Because if I remember
I
correctly.
believe it was like $400,000.
Yeah, I think they were saying 400 or
Maybe
half a mil.
400, and the township was putting up 100 maybe, or somewhere around there. I don't really know the exact
All
numbers.
right, thank you. I know you were out there meeting with them. I certainly appreciate the proactiveness and your work in doing that. Can you give us an update? And from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, there was some issues with that triangle back portion in addition to some of the water management.
Right, so I had a couple of meetings. Last meeting I had was on Thursday last week with the engineer, 2 owners reps, and the contractors. I don't have a date right now. One of the things we're looking at doing is cleaning up that beginning of the triangle, just to keep that water flow moving down and around to get to that new flared end section that was put in to help that drainage situation out. One of the things that we had to get approval for is to get into that triangle piece to clean it up, because that was not part of their LOD, which is the limited disturbance with the county for their MPDS permit. So we had that cleared with the county on Friday morning. Just today, I didn't get a time frame when they're going to get in there. From communicating with them on Thursday, they were saying that they'd like to get in here within the next week or two, because it's going to benefit with the county, because we can't have any earth disturbance in that cleanup area. So we're just going to try and isolate everything in the next day or so. I was hoping to have a time frame today, but I wasn't able to get one.
Yeah, I also talked to Jim Kelly about, and because we were together there, we went through the property, and I actually spoke to him today, and he said those things were not addressed as of yet.
Correct.
So I'm inclined to say this should be tabled to our next meeting, which will be in 2 weeks, and by that time, they should have it ready to go.
One more. Right, so we did do this with the release. There was, I believe, $2.8 million in escrow for this project, and I believe we're holding $360,000, which is more than
$370,000.
Yeah, which is more than substantial. We still have some other punches.
$370,000 enough to
Yes.
ensure that they're going to finish?
Yeah, basically, regarding the punch list work, there's only like some stabilization issues. There's some grading corrections that need to be made.
Drainage, there's some drainage back there
There's
also.
drainage in the back, and I know their engineer, I believe, was going to kind of do a sketch so he could provide us with that for that swale. It looks like it's really just a debris and some soil that needs to be removed or regraded just to get that water to actually come down through that property line. But there's not that much that's necessary. I wouldn't think more than $50,000 to $80,000 will cover all the punch list work that we have. We're holding the contingency, which is like another 256,000, I believe.
Where's
So,
that money?
The 10% contingency that we have. So we're holding money on each line item for like grading. I think we have some concrete, we have a fence, we have some missing trees or landscape. We're holding money from those line items, plus the contingency for getting all this cleaned up.
All right, because the way I read this, I thought this was zeroed out, but apparently not.
No, we're holding $370,000.
So you have more than enough with.
More than enough to get all the work done if we had to go into ourselves.
All right, as long as you have that money, then I'm fine. I'm fine with that. All right, gentlemen?
All right, I'll make a motion that we do the release as stated, and we have a remaining amount of $369,188 still in escrow. Approve that with the condition upon audit by the finance department.
All right, motion on the floor?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
And against, any abstentions? That is unanimous. Okay. No basketball for Mr. Pizer tonight. Okay, moving right along, we have the public comment, agenda item number 13. Would anyone like to come up and... They're doing pretty well, aren't they? Yes, they are.
They're doing great.
Okay, well, I think they're first, they're pretty close to first place.
3 points out.
Yeah, right, in one game. Two
We'll
games.
get to that.
All right, so the Flyers are doing well in public comment. Anyone else like to make any comments? Phillies are starting to play.
Yeah, well, after the meeting, Mr. Flair has been explaining to me how it's worked and have a guy come out of the stands and play goalie.
Zamboni driver.
Yes, that's right, that's exactly,
Zamboni driver.
right.
The other team.
42-year-old Zamboni driver who's from the home team.
That's happened with the Flyers too. There's a guy from Temple that came out and played goalie one time because one got sick and the other one got hurt, and they always have a backup at each facility, so that if somebody comes out, they can go
playing
in.
for the opposite team, like he's goaltending for the.
Either team, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He can goaltend for several teams, actually.
Yeah.
I think is the way it works, but you're right. It was pretty funny. I think he was 44 years old, I believe.
42, yeah.
42, was it? Yeah, pretty interesting. That's why I don't go to Phillies games. I don't feel like pitching anymore. If they need me, I'll just watch it on TV. Okay, any other public comment? Not seeing any. We're going to go to other business, and we're going to start with Russ. You want to add anything tonight?
No, nothing to add.
Debbie, would you like to add anything? Okay, Mr. Pizzo?
I'd like to make congratulations and wish good luck to the Bensalem boys basketball team. They play tomorrow night down at the Leah Cordes Center in Temple University. They'll be playing Cheltenham High School after a nice win this past weekend against, I believe it was Springfield East. And also the Bensalem mock trial team. Last week, they defeated Central Bucks South to win the district title. They will be moving on to compete in regionals, and if they're successful there, on to the states. The Bensalem High School mock trial team has been an incredibly successful program over the years that gets almost no publicity or recognition. So congratulations to them. By winning the districts, are the #1 team in all of Bucks County, and
Wow.
we'll be moving on. So
I think their coach is Judge Bowman, who just became
she
a
was.
judge.
She
Who
was.
just became a judge, and so for years she was doing that. Wasn't it Denise Bowman the first name?
congratulations to both of them, and the Roman Numeral Goretti game tipped off a few minutes ago, so go Cahill-ites.
All right, Aaron, you like to add anything? How'd you like being here tonight? Anything?
Very nice.
All right? All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to our council members. Jesse, I'll start with you. Jesse Sloan.
First, I want to congratulate Officer Schwarting and his canine partner Bowie for their success in competing in America's Top Dog. I was traveling this week for work, and so I had recorded it, watched it with my kids last night, and they were in awe. It was pretty cool to see. I also want to remind people that this year the county is employing a new voting system. So the polling machines will be different this year, and there will be a demonstration here at the Township Building this Wednesday night between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. There will be 3 elections in Bensalem this year, a special election, the primary in April, and the general election in November. So please, if you would like to see the new voting machines and see how they operate, please come on out. And then I did have a question. I'm hoping maybe Russ or Quentin can help answer this. The old Corman Apartments on Street Road, I forget what they're called now. A couple months back, we had approved no parking signs just at the intersections along Brookwood Drive. I believe there was some line of sight issues. I was contacted about that they're putting in no parking along the entire length of Brookwood Drive. Do you just, the discovery of some old ordinance or something?
I believe so. So I was actually in the hallway today with Fred Herron. He would actually be the best person to talk to. Him and Ken Farrell are looking into this.
Okay.
So there's nothing being done at this point.
Okay.
Complaints did come in. There was reviews done. Now there's more reviews being done.
Okay,
So-
because I know that we had approved.
Jess, I think that we approved
it back in May.
Yeah, back on Fairway, off of Fairway.
Right.
But
Right.
I think you actually addressed it at the time, and a couple other people might have too, that we were interested in them looking at the whole road and whether no parking signs were.
Well, and it was
Should have
specifically, I
been
know we
just-
were concerned about the intersection of Brookwood and Humeville because it was a
Right,
bus stop.
and there's 2 entrances to Parkview, there's Fairway, so there's 3 or 4 streets coming out of Brookwood itself. So we were asking, what about the rest of the stretch there? So I don't know, did they do something that they found that they needed?
I believe they found something old, but like I said, I don't know exactly what it said. I believe it was like a no parking ordinance for one side of the street, but
Okay.
that's what I was just from overhearing.
Okay,
So, but I know they're looking at it. They're not doing anything right now because one of the things they had us look into was striping. It's one of the things we did at Fairway we put the white lines out
Yep.
there just to designate some striping. So one of the things that they were asking us is, can we do this the whole stretch? And we looked into that, but we haven't done anything like that because our spring striping is not even.
Yeah, I agree.
far away, yeah.
If there's not an old ordinance, they should come back and tell us what they're doing.
Right, and that's what they're looking into, I believe.
Okay.
So, nothing will be done anytime soon.
okay, thanks Quentin,
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it.
And
That's
I'll
all.
move over to Councilman Polari.
Our Flyers are doing very well. We're 3 points out of first place. They're playing very well, and it's been exciting to watch. Our Phillies hit 3 home runs in 1 inning today, and they won yesterday, won today, and they play again tomorrow. So hopefully, we're going to have some fun this summer. A Stanley Cup coming to the Philadelphia Flyers, and maybe a World Series for the Phillies, but we could all dream. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Mr. Turkmezian, I'll go with you then.
Thank you. Just one administrative item, Mr. Pizzo. Can you give us an update on the RDA? I believe it's the Colmar. Any update on that?
Yes, on the last possible day, the owner of the property filed preliminary objections to the declaration of taking. Counsel for the RDA, who is handling the matter, because technically the RDA is the entity that is undertaking the condemnation, filed preliminary objections to those preliminary objections on the basis that they were not properly filed. The time for the property owner to respond to the preliminary objections I believe has either just expired or is about to expire. I was contacted by the RDA solicitor last week in that regard, but I apologize, I forget the exact day he said they were due to expire. So they hadn't yet responded, but as of this time last week, they still had a few days within which to respond. So all of that is a very long-winded way of saying it's grinding through the courts, and the judge will have to sort it all out before title passes at the time of the condemnation, before the township's right to possess and the RDA's right to possess is secured.
Okay, thank you. A lot of preliminary objections going on there.
Yes, there were.
Fortunately, they're only preliminary.
Again, congrats to Officer Shoring too as well. That was great seeing that on TV. I also want to say thank you to the B3T for putting together the Unity Week. Hopefully everybody will grab a copy of that. And also congrats to the essay contest winners. Also wanted to congratulate our award winners receiving awards and/or citations this evening. I also wanted to note, touch on Mr. Pizzo. The basketball game is tomorrow evening, so good luck to the BHS basketball team. They're doing really well. I also wanted to note there's a lot of great things that are coming out of the high school, such as mock trial. My son actually is on the team, so they're doing really well, in addition to a lot of other things. PJAZ, which they had competitions over this past weekend, and then we have the robotics event that's coming up at the end of March. So a lot of good things coming out of the high school. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, we'll make you representative of the school board there, Mr.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, Mr. Knowles? Joe?
Yeah, I also would like to congratulate Bensalem High School's basketball team's tremendous. I believe Holy Ghost Prep is still in the...
They were doing well, too.
They're in the state tournament, too, so, I learned at church that, at St. Ephraim's, that St. Ephraim's won Region 19 basketball championships, so we have a lot of champions here. And I'm glad Mr. Pizzo mentioned the mock trial program at Bensalem. They do a tremendous job, and Ed's right that Ms. Bowman was their coach, because I remember when my son was at Holy Ghost, Bensalem took Holy Ghost out in the district champions, and that was 10 years ago. So they've had a long tradition of doing well, and those kids, to have a mock trial program at Bensalem High School like that is really a tremendous achievement. I would like to wish everybody that celebrates a happy St. Patrick's Day, and to the Mayor Joe and Joe Polari and Joe Pizzo and myself, happy St. Joseph's Day on March 19th. All right, so.
It's my confirmation name, too.
And Ed's confirmation.
And it's confirmation name. All right, now I'd like to reiterate a few things that were said this evening. First of all, I asked Mr. Pizzo, there was a property, Mr. Joe Conley had come before us, and we're following through on that. Is there any additional information on that? That was on the public comment from January 13th meeting. We're supposed to be following through on making sure that we are in compliance with everything we're doing. We're going with Quentin on that one? Mr. Pizzo, right?
He's trying to find out.
Okay.
When we were here in January, there was some question as to the status of the boundary dispute. Mr. Costick confirmed for me that the matter had been in front of the Bucks County Court of Common Pleas on an injunctive basis, with Mr. Connolly being the plaintiff. And that the court denied the petition for injunctive relief regarding the boundary dispute. So that would suggest that the court was not persuaded that there was any encroachment or trespass from one property owner to the other based on what is believed to be the boundary between the two. As to the other issues going on out there, Quentin or Aaron, I don't know if either of you can speak to the status of the remaining items on the neighboring Popley property. I
was down at, I believe 634 Bristol Pike the end of the week before with Mr. Popley. There's still a couple outstanding items that he has for us to do as part of that project. Don't know what the status on when they're going to get completed, but there's still some outstanding issues.
The township has cited the Popley property for some code violations. Those are pending in front of Judge Gallagher. One of the items in particular was the presence of apartments on the second floor of the commercial property, which is not permitted by zoning. In response to the zoning citation that was received, the property owner has submitted to the zoning hearing board for a variance to allow the apartment. That application has not yet been to the zoning hearing board for decision. As to the number of issues out there regarding the stockpiling of the dirt that was undertaken when Holy Family University was the owner of the property, together with some other questions regarding the potential filling of land along the creek bed that runs behind the two adjacent properties. Based upon the last meeting in front of council, I believe Mr. Farrell has directed his staff to work with DEP and the County Conservation District on all of the issues out there over which the Conservation District and DEP would have jurisdiction, namely the stockpiling of the dirt and the potential filling of land along the creek bed, with an eye toward either getting the stockpile of dirt removed, or having the property owner come back to all of you, because my understanding is that the stockpile is there by virtue of a prior approval that came along with the land alteration permit at the time, that allowed for the temporary, quote-unquote, temporary stockpiling of the dirt. So either I believe, but please understand, I believe, I'm not in the weeds on this on a daily basis. Mr. Farrell and his staff are, but I believe from my discussions that they are, again, working with the state and the county on those issues. And as to the dirt pile in particular, again, either the landowner, things are being teed up for either the landowner to remove the dirt or just remove it, or to come back to this body for permission for it to remain.
That was always supposed to be temporary because of a project Holy Family was doing. Holy Family decided not to do the project, and the dirt pile's still there. The dirt pile needs to be removed. It's causing a lot of issues with water runoff and so forth. There's absolutely no reason for that dirt pile. The dirt pile does nothing to help anybody, so it should have been removed when Holy Family sold the property, in my eyes. So I believe something has to be done. If there's something that comes up with the apartments or those kind of things, all these things are being done that shouldn't be done, that no other business along the pike can do. I just think that we're getting out of control with these things, but that dirt pile needs to go. And I don't know how we do that, but it's got to go.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Polari. I mean, it's clear that the property owner never wanted to stay there for that long and doesn't want it now.
Yeah, and if Holy Family should have removed it, not that I'm picking on Holy Family, when he purchased the property, then he needs to, Mr. Popley, the current owner, needs to take care of getting rid of it, or go back to the person who was supposed to move it as part of their agreement or whatever. But you can't just have a mountain.
I understand and I agree. Understand when we sit here and refer to the quote-unquote pile of dirt, obviously it is many cubic yards of dirt.
But I understand that DEP
it's not
has to get
it's not a
involved.
dump truck load or two. And secondly, you are correct. It's something that because it involves a variety of issues. Those other agencies are involved as well. Suffice it to say, again, the administration has heard council's comments. Mr. Farrell's department is moving at, I assume, all deliberate speed in moving things forward to address all of those issues out there vis-a-vis the soil issues for both properties, because my understanding is there are issues on both properties.
Right, as long as we're doing both and making them both do what needs to be done, and not just one person and not the other. If there's things that Mr. Conley has to straighten out, then that'll be straightened out, but the dirt pile needs to go.
All right, thank you for your report, Joe. That's what we just want to keep up to date, and thank you very much. I'm going to continue to congratulate all the recipients this evening, the B3T Unity Week, especially the houses of worship that participated to allow us to do that. And especially, I would like to thank the students who have written, really, you have to read them because they really are excellent essays that they had written regarding Unity Week. I'd like to also congratulate the police that received their awards this evening. I also would like to congratulate Officer Bowie, along with his partner, Officer Swarting, for what they did on TV. So that was kind of interesting and very exciting for Bensalem Township, of course. The EMS that received their awards this evening, we'd like to thank them. We have other awards coming up. We have, has Mr. Knowles had mentioned, St. Ephraim's basketball team has also received a first position in their division, so we'll be acknowledging them in the future. And any other team, especially in the high school, that participates and receives awards, just let us know, and we'll be happy to bring them before us so they're acknowledged in Bensalem Township so everybody knows what's happening here. A few dates to put on your calendar. Let me see, February 26th is Ash Wednesday, so if you have Catholic faith, you'll know what's happening there. March 7th and 8th, that's daylight savings time. That's a Saturday and Sunday. Set your clocks forward, so we lose an hour's sleep. I think that's how that one works. But it's also daylight, 6, 7 o'clock at night, so that's kind of cool. The next meeting is March the 10th, which will be a Tuesday. The Jewish faith is celebrating Purim, which is kind of a neat holiday. They're all excited about I guess, from the Persians, I guess it was, delivered from the Persians with Queen Esther, the beautiful Queen Esther, I believe. And so that's part of what's happening here. So if you see Jesse running around in a clown outfit, it's because he's having a good time that day. And I say that lovingly in terms of costumes and things like that. March 17th, two things are happening. St. Paddy's Day. All the Irish people are having a good time celebrating that, as well as that is our Bensalem election for our state representative, March 17th. So it's an unusual election date, but it's going to be just a couple weeks away. So mark that on your calendar, come out and vote for our one. It's going to be easy getting in and out. And then following that, when the primary, the whole system of voting is going to change. We'll keep you in touch as to what's happening there. So that's some dates you may want to put on your calendar. And with that, we have a council meeting coming up on March 24th, and that's the last thing on the list there. So
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'm going to do that right now. Will you make a motion to adjourn? And I have to put that on the calendar, however, and that's it. Okay? That's it.